Hello everybody, we're glad to be with you once again for another edition of Inside Africa. Let's begin from Ivory Coast, where 3 days of national mourning have begun in the country for the 61 people killed in a stampede after a New Year firework display. Many are blaming a lack of security at the event. Meanwhile, the president has called for an immediate investigation.
Laying flowers for the dead as the country observes the first of 3 days of nationwide mourning. More than 60 people were killed in the New Year's Eve stampede, but others are still missing. Many families simply don't know where their loved ones are.
We searched everywhere and we cannot find our son. We even went to Chukokodi, a large hospital, but they say they have brought all the dead bodies here to the morgue.
The government's ordered an investigation into how the stampede started, but among the public, theories abound. Some have blamed unauthorized barriers put up by pickpockets trying to take advantage of the crowds. Others put the blame squarely on security.
There must have been errors made on the security front, and the first aid too, because it took a long time for the first aid to arrive. I think it should be established who is responsible for this, and sanctions applied so that this doesn't happen again.
This isn't the first time. In 2009, 22 people were killed, also by a stampede, at the same stadium. In the New Year's Eve incident, most of those killed were children, between the ages of 8 and 15 years old.
It's really disheartening as a father. Fireworks are for joy, so that everyone is happy and has joy in their hearts. But if you come here, and then you end up with deaths on your hands, it's truly unacceptable.
I found myself stuck, and I asked a man to get me out, and he did. And then he asked me where my family was. I gave him the number of my dad, and he called him, and he came to take me away.
The government has said it'll pay the medical bills of more than 200 people who were injured. But many of those remain in hospital, and the government has warned the death toll could yet rise.
As Ghana strives to maintain its status as a lower middle-income country, access to potable water, a basic social need, is still a challenge for residents of Marzari. Marzari is a small community near Nandi in the northern region.
Maljari in the Dabani language means my mother's vegetable. About 10-minute drive from Yendi, the residents are predominantly farmers, having a resource center to train women in various vocational skills such as milling, groundnut processing, as well as poultry farming, is something that the residents of Maljari will always be grateful for. However, access to potable water remains a problem. The only pipe-borne water which is stored in a water tank and transported from Tamale is at the clinic, and that is used for medical purposes. However, once in a while, when they have a good supply, a bucket is sold to the residents for 1 Ghana cedis 50 pesos, which they say is way too high, so most of them cannot afford.
As I'm speaking now, I'm thirsty, but because of my baby, I cannot go to fetch water with him at my back. Access to water is a big problem here. There are donkeys that are also used to fetch water. A barrel is sold for 1 Ghana cedi, 50 pesos.
The day before yesterday, I was at the center. We were busy working. That was when I called by my father that my mother did not have water, that I have to go and fetch water for her from the dam side. Before I could get the water for her, there was problem at the center because people were trying to process their groundnut and butter. I was not there.
Since August 2011, Maljari has had a clinic built by the United Nations Development Programme, UNDP. The clinic has a pharmacy, maternity and wards for males and females. The clinic also has a residence for a medical officer, with electricity being supplied from the national grid, as well as from solar energy systems. Though various ailments are brought to the health facility for medical attention, the medical officer in charge, Mohammed Kamel, disclosed to the news team that most of the cases that are brought to the health center are waterborne.
From our own records, we'll be able to clearly state that most of them come with cases like diarrhea, which is water-related. You know, when you take contaminated water, you're more likely to get diarrhea. Then most of them also come with cases like dysentery, which is also related to water. Primarily, these are the two major conditions that they normally come with. I have tried a number of times to find out like their source of drinking water.
From the clinic, the news team set out to find alternative sources of water in the community. We were told that there was one mechanized borehole as well as 3 wells for use by the resident. There was also a dam about 4 miles from the community, which the residents could fetch water from if they could take the long walk. They said before the walls were constructed, they used to go to neighboring communities such as Zabzugu, Yendi and Tamale to fetch water. The water from the borehole and wells is used for cooking, washing and other domestic purposes. After about a 15-minute walk, we located the borehole. There, the women and children who had just returned from their farms were in a queue, waiting anxiously for water that seemed to be coming in tiny drops. The team learned that some of the women joined the queue with their containers early in the morning before going to the farm in order to get some water when they get back. Our next quest was to find the 3 wells. The location of the first well took us on a 20-minute walk to the main village, though we were informed that it was not peak time then, since most of them were not back from their farms. The water from the well, though clean, was not forthcoming due to the fact that it was in the dry season. The team's quest to find the second well took us on another 15-minute walk. Here too, luck was not on our side. To our dismay, we were told that a 3rd well was near the outskirts of the town, another 15 to 20-minute walk, which we were too tired to take, so the search for water had to end at the 2nd well.
Okay. Now, every year on the 1st of January, the people of Winneba in the central region of Ghana welcome the new year with a masquerade display popularly known as fancy dress. Now, let's take a look.
For years, the Masquerade Festival has served as a platform that unites the people of Winneba. It has been an attraction not only for the locals, but people from other parts of the country as well as foreigners. Tourists, holiday makers and traditional leaders were on the grounds to witness the display. The masquerade usually features 4 groups: Eja, Red Cross, Tumus, and Nobles to compete for honors in dances. The competition is over which group best exhibits slow dance or blues, high life, and achum. Costume, line formation, and the ability to dance in uniformity enhances a group's chances of winning the competition. Though the occasion is regarded by many as one of a kind in the world, little is done to improve upon the organization and standard. The municipal chief executive of Winneba, Mr. Ephraim, said the organizers are working hard to improve upon the event.
People don't get to know and hear of this particular program on air. It is a advertisers and other sponsors.
Regular revelers and first-timers were both of the view that Masquerade Festival is a must-see.
I didn't know me interesting. It's every year, no.
It's wonderful. We have something in Belgium, but it is huge. This is thousand times huge. It's enormous.
It's really cool. I've never seen anything like this, the colors and the dancing and the spirit.
In the past, it was rare to find children as young as 2 years participating in the event. This time round, many children were included. To the people of Simpa, the indigenous name for Winneba, the annual masquerade display or fancy dress is part and parcel of their lives, and they will hold it dear for a long time to come.
Living West Africa, South Africans have expressed their wishes for peace and economic prosperity as they marked the beginning of the new year across the country. Celebrations in Johannesburg continue deep into the night with a free concert for everyone.
The streets of Johannesburg came alive as people of all ages came out early and danced, all of them celebrating their hopes and dreams for better opportunities and life in the new year.
This is how we unite. No violence, no crime. This is how we do it. Without talent, without gifts. This is how we roll.
2013, looking forward to new beginnings. In more ways than one, I'll be moving to Joburg. And I'd also be getting married to my lovely fiancée here. So looking forward to that as well.
I wish everyone a happy new year, prosperous new year, to push whatever they want to push so that we boost our own economy here in Africa. Madiba to get well.
All your dreams and aspirations, make them come true, because 2013 is going to be a great year. It's going to be beautiful and full of surprises, and everyone deserves to be happy.
The celebrations in the city continued deep into the night with a free concert for everyone. Many who came to ring in the new year said they wished for peace, prosperity and unity in South Africa in 2013. But the New Year's wish that topped the list of many with a desperate need for jobs.
We need a job, yes.
For many Somalis, the year 2012 will go into the history book as the year when Somalia elected its first democratic president in 43 years.
For many Somalis, the year 2012 will go into the history books as the year when Somalia elected its first democratic president in 43 years. President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud was elected by lawmakers, becoming the first new leader to be chosen inside the country since 1991. He defeated former transitional president Sheikh Sharif Sheikh Ahmed, putting an end to his 8-year-old interim rule.
For the world at large, I would like to say Somalia has hit the road. Help us to move the obstacles in that road, and we will be hitting that road until we reach our target, which is stable Somalia, soon, inshallah. Thank you very much.
During the past year, Somalia has witnessed many important events like approval of a new constitution, selection of a new 275-seat member parliament, and choosing a new prime minister. However, despite these great changes, security remains the biggest challenge of the country. Just 2 days after electing the new president, 2 bombs hit a hotel in which he was residing. The Al-Shabaab fighters claimed responsibility for the attack. The political progress in Somalia inspired confidence in the international community, and high-level delegation visited Somalia in hopes of reviving ties with the Horn of African nation. Countries like Iran reopened their embassy in Mogadishu, paving way for many other countries to name their envoys to Somalia. With the start of street lighting program, new hope and confidence has been built among the business community, who now operate even during nights. As a confidence-building measures among traders and business owners, Mogadishu has also removed illegal roadblocks. New universities, launch of technologies like the third-generation internet service, which is the first of its kind in south and central Somalia, are all examples of advancements made in the country during 2012. As Somalis usher in the new year, many here hope that an end to war will create a perfect environment and a return of more Somalis from the refugee camps and abroad.
In Kenya, Inspector General of Police David Kimayu has met elders in Nairobi's Mathare, Dandora and Kibera slums to establish the root cause of the recent crime wave that has seen several houses burnt in retaliatory attacks. Residents of Mathare are worried that the recent crime incidents could affect the general elections expected in just 2 months' time.
Residents of this bustling informal settlement have had to brave serious criminal incidences in the past few weeks. This is worrying police bosses who met with community leaders today to find ways of dealing with the runaway crime. Many say the growing violence in Mathare could reach uncontrollable levels if not checked.
We have made arrests of over 200 suspects. We have analyzed them in various categories. We have also arrested the arsonists. We have arrested those who murdered the members of public through arson. There is no politics, it's only thuggery.
There are no tribal differences here. The problem here is the thieves versus the residents.
In Dandora, where 3 people were shot dead Sunday night by armed thugs, newly appointed Inspector General Police David Kimayo said he had ordered police chiefs in Nairobi to deal with criminal gangs in the city.
They should not fear to use that necessary force to be able to sustain a kind of a conflict that has erupted. They should be able to deal with that conflict as it comes.
While security agencies are struggling to deal with crime, angry residents are taking the law into their own hands. This morning, 4 suspected gangsters were killed as one narrowly escaped death after residents of Kibera rounded them up for allegedly terrorizing their neighborhood.
We believe in any criminal being arrested and handed over for the law to take its course.
They have been harassing people along this road, Aranja Road, Lindi and Makina.
There are concerns that if not dealt with, this organized thuggery could be an ingredient for worse crime should the trend stretch to the general election.
Still in Kenya, female genital mutilation or FGM is still rampant in some parts of the Northern Rift, despite strict government legislation effected 2 years ago. Anti-FGM crusaders were optimistic that the passage of FGM Bill 2010 would see the practice decline. This, however, is not the case. Locals have employed every trick in the book to evade the watchful eye of the law to secretly circumcise young and unwilling girls.
Tuamue kubaki kama tumebaki. Si tukabaki sasa. Sasa nilishangaa sasa watu wanataka nini? Na tulikuwa tumefunzwa kitambo. Tulikuwa tumeenda semina nyingine kwa Kapkundu. Sasa tulikuwa tumefunzwa hii maneno ni mbaya. Kuna marafiki ni walienda. Hao walisema wakibaki mpe wakiolewa nini? Baadaye watarudishwa nyumbani juu yao. Hao wakaamua kwenda. Nikaambia nikipaka hata nirudishwe ili nisome, akinirudisha na nimepata masomo ili nikae.
We are currently in Sibol Village, Marakwet East District. We are told that in this month alone, the month of December, over 500 girls are lined up for circumcision. In every village, we meet with these very powerful messages being sent across to the villagers to allow their children, especially their girls, to finish education until the level of university, allow them to reach their dreams. Non-governmental organizations are playing a vital role here in eradicating the vice. Seminars are held especially in the month of December to educate the girls on the negative effects of FGM. The organizations are also providing refuge to girls who are escaping the practice in the villages. But as the load gets lighter on the part of the girls, a lot more needs to be done to ensure the entire village embraces the uncircumcised girl.
Mwenye ametairiwa na akaoleka anakuja kaanga nyumbani mzuri sana. Unajua sisi sana tunatokanga hapa, tunaendanga town kutafuta kazi, tunaenda town kutafuta kibarua kwa sababu huku ushako. Alafu wanasemanga ukiwaja huyo mama mwenye ametairiwa, hautakuja pata kwamba ameshikia mtu mtoto. Hautakuja pata kwamba amepatikana na mchama mwingine, anakuongojea tu wewe kama mwanaume mpaka ufike kwako.
Watu hujatariwa, utaongea na watu, ukikaa na watu kama hawa ndio utatusu tu. Ndio hawa tu wanasema ati labda wewe unataka utariwe kwa huku alafu unikae na watu.
Many others who get married before they are circumcised are taken back to their parents' home.
Niliambiwa tu nini, ukienda ukiolewa usirudi nyumbani yote.
A community empowered only halfway, many girls do not want to go under the knife, but the society is hostile towards such. Evelyn Kiprop had to go through the practice. She tells me after the month of December, there is high rate of school dropouts when the girls are expected to return to school. Little girls undergoing the practice are told they are mature enough to start a home, something she says she is shielding her daughters from.
Na pili hata mimi nilitairiwa nikiwa mdogo, nilihisi uchungu kabisa mpaka saa hizi na nikiona msichana wangu hivi hapana sitaka apite penye nimepita. Haisaidia hata kidogo, hiyo kitu haina maana sababu Mungu aliumba binadamu na akasema ni tosha. Kwa nini binadamu mwingine anakuja kusema anarekebisha nini?
The girls are hidden deep in the valleys. The women fear the long arm of the government. In the past 1 month alone, 4 women spearheading the practice have been arrested and arraigned in court. The law states that FGM remains a crime and those found conducting it will serve up to 7 years in prison and fines of up to 500,000 Kenyan shillings, with anyone who causes death in the process of carrying out FGM being liable to life imprisonment. But this does not scare them. We go down this hill after a hard task of convincing a mother to allow us film her girls. She refused, saying we are the police, after her neighbor was arrested a day before we visited. Kapyoso village alone had 69 girls circumcised in a day. We are told the girls will be released from confinement before schools open to avoid the local administration raising an alarm.
Yeah. Unajua wanatoa hata kama wakiwa na vinondo wanatoa. Siku hizi wanaokopa serikali kwamba wakifungia huko sana na wakichelewa sio kama sisi zamani. Sisi ndio tulichelewa shule tamu msuma. Lakini ya saa hizi wanaharakishanga haraka ndio wakitoa hata kama ukiwa na kinonda ama nini shauri yako. Wanatoa tu waende shule. Unaenda Kipchago unasafari kama umepona ni wewe, kama hujapona ni wewe.
There is hope. Many others refuse to walk the path of their forefathers. Like standard 5-year-old Tekla Jepkemboy, she tells me some of her friends succumb to the pressure, but her zeal to get to university makes her forge on.
Lakini wenye wanakataa hiyo, unaweza soma ndio kama unataka ujunge maisha yako, au unaendelea tu na masomo yako. Unakataa hiyo, utaweza kwenda mbali na utaolewa mbali, si hapo tena.
So as the residents along the roads go about their daily activities, young girls deep in the valleys fight not only for their health but fight for their lives, with the hope that one day the society will change to enable them continue with their education.
The presidents of Sudan and South Sudan are set to meet in the Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa to discuss how to improve on the border security and resume cross-border oil flows. Spokesman from both governments said the African Union would host a summit in Addis Ababa on Friday. The two nations have agreed to set up a demilitarized border zone.
In what is perhaps a strong indication of the emerging diplomatic influence of Ethiopia, the leaders of Sudan and South Sudan have accepted an invitation to Addis Ababa from Ethiopia's Prime Minister Haile Mariam Desalegn to try and resolve their country's differences. In their Friday meeting, Omar al-Bashir and Salva Kiir will be seeking to speed up the implementation of an agreement reached by both countries in September last year.
We are ready to establish good neighboring and cooperative relations, besides implementing all the agreements signed in Addis Ababa and signed before to transform the borders between us and the Republic of South Sudan into borders that allow exchange and social connections.
Similarly, South Sudan's President Salva Kiir says his country is ready to end the outstanding issues with Sudan. In his New Year's speech, Kiir said his country would temporarily withdraw its forces from flashpoints in the border areas in order to establish a border monitoring mission. He, however, did not set a date for the withdrawal of the army. South Sudan and Sudan signed a landmark deal in September in Addis Ababa, which was centered on 9 key areas including a demilitarized buffer zone and oil production. They agreed to resume oil exports from the landlocked south through Sudan. Juba had shut its oil production after failing to agree with its northern neighbor on an export fee. This was one of the several conflicts left over from South Sudan's secession in 2011. The two countries still have to move back their army 10 kilometers from the border to set up a buffer zone as a condition to restart oil flows.
Talking agriculture and this edition of Inside Africa, farmers in Ethiopia have disclosed that their use of agricultural technologies improved during the 2012 farming season. Central Statistics Agency has speculated this year's harvest to show an increase over the previous one.
Agriculture has been an activity that accounts for the lion's share of Ethiopia's economy since long. In fact, the government is working hard to put in place an agriculture-led industrialization to transform the country's economy to the better. These days, farmers at various levels are getting acquainted with modern technologies and are maximizing productivity accordingly. With regard to what this year's harvest will look like, the Central Statistics Agency has forwarded speculations recently. The agency announced that 229 million quintals of crop will be collected by this harvest season, which was 218 million quintals last year. Agriculture State Minister Wendy Radmanda-Frost said that the increase in production is due to the application of modern agricultural technologies and inputs. The State Minister confirms that the government is ready more than any other time before to help farmers boost productivity in a consecutive manner with a bid to ensure food self-reliance. Farmers whom Airtel talked to said that their productivity has been increasing due to the use of modern agricultural inputs since recently.
After I started sowing in line, maize productivity has been increasing. Now I could collect about 70 quintals per hectare. During the 2012 main rainy season, I sowed both by spreading and in a row. The spreading method got me 30 quintals per hectare, whereas the latter one brought me 50 quintals per hectare.
The system of sowing in a row has been said to be effective to increase productivity of spices, coffee, and other seeds.
Bringing you more news from Ethiopia, the Joint Anti-Terror Task Force of the National Intelligence and Security Service and the Federal Police have arrested members of the terrorist wing of Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab networks. Rifles, military training manuals, various documents and videos depicting jihad were among evidences seized from the suspects.
The Joint Anti-Terror Task Force of the National Intelligence and Security Service and the Federal Police have been investigating the activities of a terrorist wing said to have links with Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab since December 2012. Accordingly, the task force has arrested 15 suspects of the wing in an operation made after the investigation by the order of the courts. The task force revealed that the members of the terrorist group, with the help of the Somali-based Al-Shabaab, have been conspiring to terrorize Ethiopia and impinge on the smooth development undertakings of the country. The suspects have been mobilizing their members that were provided military trainings by Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab in Kenya and Somalia to create chaos in Ethiopia. They were also found to organize supporters for jihad purposes once crossing the border of Ethiopia, the task force disclosed. The Joint Anti-Terror Task Force of the National Intelligence and Security Service and the Federal Police emphasized that the suspects were plotting to revert the legal questions of the Ethiopian Muslims to violence with a bid to declare jihad and terrorize the country. Military training manuals, documents, videos, computers and artilleries and other military equipment which are believed to be used for terrorist attacks were among the evidences seized with the suspects. Making Addis Ababa their focal point, the suspects have already made observations in Kamise and Harar to choose strategic positions for military purposes. They have also been in minor military trainings in various areas and have been finally caught while teaching doctrines to lay conducive foundations for declaring jihad, the task force noted. The Joint Anti-Terror Task Force of the National Intelligence and Security Service and the Federal Police confirmed that further information would be provided to the public after finalizing necessary investigations on the case.
It is on that note that we come to the end of this edition of Inside Africa. Thanks for your time and keep watching AFRIQUEMEDIA for more news.